Women are at the helm of the most important job in our country, and it ain't going so well. Also, we have a new segment on this show called Commie of the Week. Wait until you hear who our pick was and what they said. All that and more coming up today on The Quisha King Show. So American women have been rising in the workforce for decades now, from the school system to STEM. There is no sector where women are not a part of it. But the most important job is raising children. And I know that all women aren't mothers, but a lot of women are mothers. And what's happening with our kids is really problematic. So the census says that there are 15 million children under 18 who live with their mother only. That's a lot of kids, okay? And in the United States in 2022, women made up 76% of K through 12 teachers, including 76.8% of public school teachers, 90% of elementary school teachers, 72% of middle school teachers, 59% of high school teachers. Women also make up 75% of private school teachers. So we've got women have their hand on the next generation. But what is that proving out to be? Like, is this going well? I don't think so. Before we really dive into that, let's go ahead and smack that like button, share this out, share this, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to show that you support this channel. And let's go ahead and talk about our very first sponsor for this show. We're talking about Genesis Gold Group. Genesis Gold Group, that's rumblegold.com. With so many options available for Americans to protect their retirement or wealth with physical precious metals, it's hard to know who to trust. Our partners at Genesis Gold Group are a faith-driven gold and silver company that is unabashedly America first. They don't try to hook people with free silver that isn't really free. Instead, they treat their customers with respect and help guide them to securing their retirement. Visit rumblegold.com today to get their free definitive gold guide. That's rumblegold.com. All right, so according to the U.S. Department of Education's National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, you guys probably remember they were the ones that colluded with the Biden administration to call parents, myself included, who were going to school board meetings, that we were domestic terrorists. Yeah, that's the same group. But they say 32% of fourth graders and 29% of eighth graders read at or below grade level. However, other sources have different numbers, with some reporting that 35% of fourth graders and 36% of eighth graders are reading at or above grade level, while others report that 40% of students nationwide cannot read at a basic level. And I bring this all up to say that these are women who are at the helm of educating the next generation. Most of them moms, because when we see, and I say that it's problematic because when we see what's happening in education and we see what's happening in culture, you can tell that there's something afoot. There's something wrong. But nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to actually admit that all these feminists, first wave, second wave, third wave, all of them were wrong. They were wrong. And we can see this by what has been happening with the Olympics. So I don't know about you, but have you heard Kamala Harris, who is the supposed nominee for vice president, speak about what's going on in the Olympics with women? Because she and Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and AOC, they all claim to be for women's rights, but they have been mum on the beating of a woman by another boxer in the Olympics, where this man has XY chromosomes. But it's not just the popular women. It's not just Kamala Harris, Hillary, and the likes. There are a lot of women who are not saying anything at all about women being beat up in sports, women having to go to the bathroom with men. There are a lot of women that's silent on these things. And don't even ask me to compare, Republican women to the leftist women, even though there are many Republican women as well who are silent on these matters. But by and large, you don't hear Republican women, conservative women, pushing for these things. You don't hear or see conservative women out in the streets with the pink vagina hats on talking about, women's rights and reproductive rights and all of this stuff. So miss me with all the stuff, oh, Republican women too. No. This is a bag that the left has to hold. This is y'all's bag. This is what you guys stand for. Unless it is with the LGBTQ. If you fall in that kind of category in any kind of way, they're not going to say anything, even if you are cosplaying a woman and you are a full-grown man. So in the Olympics, there was two male boxers, Algerian Iman Khalif and Taiwan's Lin Yu Ting. Both failed gender eligibility tests and were disqualified at the 2023 World Championships, but both are competing at Paris 2024 in the Olympics due to chromosomes, says IBA, International Boxing Association. So, how are these men able to, they failed at the 2023 games, but then they were also be able to come back in 2024 in the Olympics, in Paris. And we watched on live TV as this man beat up a woman. I mean, it looks really bad. Speaking of looks, I have to tell you about a product that I and my fiance have created. It's called Gold Lush. This is the women. It's a makeup remover and facial oil cleanser. So I have been using this on my face for over 10 years, and I broke out really bad with cystic acne, and I tried all the things on the market and nothing worked. And I just started to do some research and formulated my own little facial wash here, and it has been just phenomenal. The reviews have been great. The feedback has been great. And so Gold Lush, it is made by God Stuff because it's the best stuff. It's available at godsstuffbeauty.com. And right now you can get free shipping and also a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. That's godsstuffbeauty.com, and you can use promo code KING, K-I-N-G. So go to godsstuffbeauty.com and get you some Gold Lush for your face. It is great for blemishes, dark spots, if you have breakouts. It has just worked wonders on our skin. So go ahead and try it out. It's all natural and it's made right here in this grand old country, the USA. So go ahead and check that out. So both of these men have been tested and both have XY chromosomes, which makes them men. And there's been some hubbub, some uptick after watching this woman take a beating from a man. And this is what the Olympics are coming out and saying. Oh, this is SOT 1.
Why you attack me? I don't attack you. Okay. Tell the truth. I speak. You want to speak? I'm trying to say that the medical lab result looks and see in the laboratories that this boxer is male.
There you have it, folks. The laboratories say that the boxers are male. And I mean, it wasn't hard for me to tell that the boxer was a guy. I mean, when you see him, He looks like a male. And clearly he hit like a male because Italian fighter, let's see, Angela Carini, who was fighting this man, she withdrew within 46 seconds of their fight after being hit clean one time in the face by Khalif. Check this out. Just so sad. She talks about how her father had passed away and her dreams were to go to the Olympics to make her father proud. But here is where men, real men who actually care about women, here's what they're starting to say. Carini says that, I'm sorry for my opponent too. If the IOC said she can fight, I respect that decision. She also says, it wasn't something I intended to do, Carini said. Actually, I want to apologize to her, talking about the man, and everyone else. I was angry because my Olympics had gone up in smoke. She added that if she met Khalif again, she would, quote, embrace her. Now, you've seen a lot of men talking about how it's not right for men to be in women's sports, how it's not right for men to be in women's bathrooms. But men are also kind of getting fed up with this, because if you are going to basically almost get knocked out by a man, you get in the ring with a man, you know, we're seeing these fights and just different things where women are actually still, even in swimming, where women were actually still swimming, you're still participating. Because let me tell you something, if none of the women said I'm not participating, there would be no show. Okay, so let's be clear, there would be no show, and you would get your power back if you actually stood up like our fellow Riley Gaines did, a spectacular swimmer who said, no, I'm not doing this. But for some reason, it is hard for women to stand up for themselves because it's LGBTQ and we can't be, I don't know, saying the truth. You can't be scientific. You can't be standing up for yourself. Like, this is insane. So men are starting to say, you know what? I am not going to participate in this. If you feminists want to just let these men come into your spaces and dominate, I guess that's what you want. Because men are kind of getting tired of trying to protect you when you're like, no, don't protect me, I'm going in there anyway. Okay, so men are just throwing their hands up. So ladies, if you think that, you know, you're saving yourself, or you're being some savior for, you know, the trans people or whatever, you're not. And you will hurt yourself physically. You could be physically harmed, and worse, you could possibly come to your own demise. So I would suggest you stop platforming and letting these men come into your spaces. You need to check them and say, I'm not swimming one lap. I'm not doing not one butterfly stroke until all the men are off the stage. I'm not swinging not one punch until all the men are off the stage. There won't be an Olympics. You certainly won't have the women's category if we are supposed to fight with a man. Ladies, you have the leverage here. Use it. That's all I'm saying. All right, you guys, so I had the privilege, as we all have seen, Donald Trump go to the National Association of Black Journalists, the NABJ. And what we saw was quite funny. He spoke a lot about policy. He spoke, he did what Donald Trump does. He dominated. He went in there, he dominated, and he was asked some very unbased, very non-factual questions, just very divisive questions. The reporter from ABC came out swinging all the way about race and this and this and that and all the things. But if you look how Trump responded, it was beautiful. Take a look.
It's not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love
I think
you
it's
can
a
answer
very
the question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I have
believe that
answered
black
the
voters
question.
should trust you with another
I
4
have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
I absolutely loved it. I absolutely love it. There is a political commentator who said that Trump, I'm going to put it in a bit of a different way, dragged his cojones all over that stage, which I actually agree. I agree. I think Trump was being very much himself. And one of the things that black Americans are not accustomed to is white people going in, quote, their spaces and being absolutely unapologetic who they are and not bowing down and kowtowing and, doing backflips simply because you happen to be black. He was himself. He didn't change the way he spoke. He didn't get this southern drawl and all this stuff that we see Kamala and Hillary and AOC doing when they get amongst black folks. We've seen Donald Trump say things like this to anybody because Donald Trump believes that anybody can get the smoke. And don't you want that in a candidate? Don't you want somebody who's not going to treat you different because you're black or a woman and all this kind of foolishness? Don't you want somebody who's going to judge you by who you are, not by what identity group you happen to fall in? I absolutely loved it. Some people didn't. Some people, like Joy Reid, she was livid. She hated it. She absolutely hated it. But Trump went there as himself. And you have to respect it. You might not like what he said, but you have to respect that he's not switching up on you. You have to respect that he came anyway. When Kamala didn't even bother to show up. She's all of a sudden black these days. So wouldn't she be running towards the NABJ to go and sit down and talk to people? No, because she's not sitting down and talking to anybody. I believe that Kamala is trying to ride this thing all the way to November 5th. She's going to say as least as possible. She's going to do as least as possible. I think she's going to try the hiding in the basement Biden recipe that worked in 2020. But Joy Reid, propagandist Joy Reid, uses her magical black thoughts to analyze someone else's heart. Take a look.
To the president and board of NABJ, y'all got played. Donald Trump showed up at the convention for exactly 3 reasons. 1, to try to dispel the notion that he's scared to debate a black woman, a presumption one can draw from his refusal to commit to debating VP Harris, who again, for those in the back, is a black and Asian woman. It's also why he lost it like a grumbly senior at the retirement home who didn't get his Jell-O dessert when ABC's Rachel Scott challenged him to answer basic questions. And how likely is it that he would have shown up at all if the lady from the network that paid a $787 million legal settlement for spreading the big lie wasn't included on the panel? Second, to steal the attention that Vice President Kamala Harris has hijacked from him because she's just more interesting and her support is more joyous and rooted in popular American culture. And 3, to create clips to play for his very white, very right-wing MAGA fan base of him standing up to the blacks.
I'm sorry. He was so afraid. He thought Kamala was going to be there, Joy. He thought she was going to be there and he went anyway. You don't make any sense, girl. Maybe you need to go back and get your Donald Trump hairdo again, because all of this bald-headed stuff that you're doing right now, it doesn't make any sense. Kamala didn't show up, in case you didn't notice. He thought she was going to be there. So where is this idea that he was afraid to debate her? Where is it? He thought she was going to be there. He was like, you know what? I'm coming. I'll be there. She doesn't show up, but somehow Trump is the one that is afraid, and just, he's so afraid of big bad Kamala. Get the freak out of here. This is nonsense. This is absolute nonsense. It's like these people, that's why I call her a propagandist, because it doesn't matter what the truth is. She's just going to say whatever she thinks it is. And because she's black, she thinks she has like this ability to magically read the hearts and intents of another human being. I'm sorry, Joy, but that belongs to God, not you, boo. Your blackness, your melanin doesn't give you the power to read the hearts and intents of other human beings. You're not God. I know y'all want to be so bad, because y'all think y'all gonna control climate and do all this stuff. You're not God. Sorry to break it to you. But soon, you will find out who is God, and I don't know what he's going to say, but we're praying for you, girl. We are praying for you. So, speaking of Kamala, y'all know she was not elected. She has not been selected to be the Democrat nominee. And I've been saying this, like, this is one of the most unconstitutional things that I've actually seen, but I was actually corrected. You see that, Joy? See, when you're wrong, you have to, when you find out new information, you own up to it, and then you just present the people with the new information that you learn. So I assumed that it was a constitutional process with the primaries. That is not the case. I found constitutional attorney KrisAnne Hall, who breaks down the primary process. And I don't know about you guys, but this might surprise you, because it certainly surprised me. Listen to what KrisAnne has to say about this process.
Hey everybody, KrisAnne Hall here, your online constitutional attorney. And we're going to talk about this coming November presidential election. We are in a situation where the current president of the United States, Joe Biden, has, through his representatives, indicated that he will not run for re-election. The controversy comes from understanding that there are some states who have already held their primaries and put Joe Biden on their ballot. Additionally, any nominee that will be presented based on Joe Biden's withdrawal will not have had the opportunity to be on the ballot of these states that have already held their primaries. So what I want to help you understand today is, how can the Democrat Party legally set aside those primaries that were held before the Democratic National Convention. So, we have been told by media that Kamala Harris, which Biden in his release endorsed Kamala Harris, that Kamala Harris, the current vice president, has actually secured enough delegate votes, a supermajority, by the way, to be the nominee for the Democrat Party in the upcoming general election in November. Now, there's been a lot of talk from social media influencers about what that means. There's even been some people who have somehow proposed that Kamala will not be on the general election ballots in those states that have already held the primaries. That's simply not true. So let's look at how this works. The first thing you need to understand is, number one, primaries are not civic events. They are not government events. They are elections by private corporate clubs to select the people that will represent them in the general election. So primaries are the private corporate club of the Democrat Party allowing the members of their private corporate club to select who will represent the private corporate club in the November election. Let's be very clear. That person is not officially selected until the convention in August 19th, by the way. When you have primaries of states before the convention, remember, states choose their primaries. They choose to hold the primary before the convention. That's their choice, which means they run the risk of the person they have put on the ballot not being the person who is selected by the delegates in the convention. The primaries are not the deciding factor on who represents the party in the general election. Primaries are to guide the delegates who will be voting at the convention on who to choose. Let's also be very clear. Democrat National Party rules have a procedure. If their nominee withdraws, dies, or is for some other reason set aside as ineligible, they're not just left at the last minute to go, we got nobody. They have a process to replace people. Joe Biden was not officially kicked out. Joe Biden officially withdrew, which invokes party rules on replacing them. It is irrelevant what happens in the primaries when the corporate club is choosing who will represent them in the general election.
I was one of those people, but I repent. I apologize for believing that Kamala was not properly selected. As you can see, I didn't even realize that that the parties were corporate entities. But the more we know, right? So, wrapping all of this up, let's look at one of our sponsors, Sweetamine. Do you have any aches and pains? Chronic inflammation might be the culprit. Meet Sweetamine, the natural way to fight inflammation. Sweetamine is packed with the amino acid glycine, the same nutrient found in bone broth that helps regulate inflammation. Many of these diseases we face today are rooted in glycine deficiency. Just one daily serving of Sweetamine provides 8 grams of glycine, enough to stop excess inflammation right where it starts. Most people feel pain reduction after just a few days. Perfect for post-workout recovery. Sweetamine is all natural, contains no sugar or carbs, and has only 24 calories. I like that. It's ideal for diabetics too. Use it like sugar in your favorite drinks, smoothies, or sprinkled on cereal. Try our 12-day challenge trial pack for only $19.95 with free shipping. Completely risk-free. And for a limited time, enter promo code KING, K-I-N-G, at checkout for a $5 discount. Order Sweetamine now at sweetamine.com or call 855-GET-SWEET. That's 855-438-7933. Live pain-free with Sweetamine and take the challenge today. All right, you guys, right here, some Sweetamine for you. Go and grab that. All right, so let's talk about the Commie of the Week. Who made the list for the Commie of the Week? I'm just going to let her, since we're talking about women today, she made the list. I'm going to let her speak for herself.
So he was in a good place to make whatever decision, the top of his game. Such a consequential president of the United States, a Mount Rushmore kind of president of the United States. Want to know what comes next.
That he belongs up there on Mount Rushmore. Lincoln and Joe Biden.
But you got Teddy Roosevelt up there, and he's wonderful. I don't say take him down, but you can add Biden.
So the same woman who pressured Joe Biden to get out, I don't care what she says, everybody knows that she did. She pressured him to leave the campaign, the presidential campaign. Also said that he was doing such a phenomenal job that he needs to be on Mount Rushmore. If that ain't crazy, I don't know what is. This man has been a complete and utter failure. But none of that matters to the communist cult. And we all know, as I have been saying for years now, that the Democrat Party is a cult. They are a cult. And these communist cult members do not care anything about the country. They don't care about women's rights. They don't care about your children. They don't care about anything that they say they care about. They only care about their communist cult. And that is why Nancy Pelosi made our Commie of the Week. Thank you guys so much for watching the Quisha King Show. We will see you next week. And as always, stay free. See you next time. Bye-bye.